Episode 185, Exercise, Learning Skills that Attract Success.
You're listening to the very best podcast in the world on health, wealth, and happiness. Please remember to leave a review and share with all your friends and family. And here is your host, Lars Hilser.
And we are closing another week on the very best podcast in the world, your only source in the universe for personal supremacy through health, wealth, and happiness. Now that we've got that covered, it's exercise day, as always, on Fridays, where we will go through exercises which you are at least physically not going to sweat and don't necessarily have to get up off the couch or out of the bed or off the fitness machine that you may be on. No, these are and probably always will be mental exercises. And the same is true for today, where we're going to attempt to learn skills that attract success. Before we get started, as always, as every day, I'm going to get on your fucking nerves with housekeeping, which states that number one, views are my own. Number two, sharing is caring. So as every day on and in every episode, it's about you to help other people. So if you're listening to this podcast and it's helped you in whichever way, shape, or form, pay it on. Share this or any of the future or past episodes with someone that's close to you and you want to help them, you want to elevate them, maybe out of a shitty situation. And one of the episodes kind of gives a solution to that shitty situation that that person is in. Share the episode with them. You can do so either by doing so, Jesus, what a stupid sentence, by sharing it through your favorite podcast player, whatever that may be. Or you can do so by visiting theverybestpodcastintheworld.com, and under every single episode and every single page and wherever, there are social sharing buttons, and they're all blinky and shiny. And I think we have, a lot of the social networks that are available. If we're missing one and you have any other comments or whatever, please email theverybestpodcastintheworld@gmail.com. Now, housekeeping over. We're going to cover today several skills that are they guarantee for success? No, they're not. Because a little sprinkle of luck is definitely always needed. And the thing being at the right place at the right time couldn't be more accurate than for success. Was that a true, correct English sentence? No idea. I hope you get the point. Anyhow, without further ado, because it's Friday and your weekend's coming up, and we got shitloads of stuff to do. Anyhow, let's get going. So, number one is self-confidence. And it's very difficult to maintain self-confidence if you are in a situation where you and your ego rely on, whatever luxury items you may have. If you humble, however, yourself down to a situation where you are truly satisfied and in tune with your environment, with your world, and you're happy with the bare essentials, a roof over your head, food, water, health, then anything that comes above that, if you're truly into those things and you've truly understood that those are the only things you need to survive, right? And if then anything, however small it may be, kind of stacks on top of that, that's going to be your self-confidence. A lot of people miss self-confidence and don't get there because they're always aspiring to get more. However, in retrospect, what I just said, if you become comfortable with having no more than the elemental things that you need in life, I think, it's easy to boost your self-confidence pretty much with anything that you treat yourself to. Also, of course, self-confidence is about having a very thorough and fine-tuned bullshit filter. There's a lot of people out there who will try to put you down for whatever you do. That's what people do. And there's loads of assholes out there who have nothing better to do than to try to make other people's candles shine less bright so that they appear to be brighter. There's tons of those people. And if you're caught in an environment where that's a thing, the competition in the office or wherever you work, don't let yourself be influenced by that. Put up your bullshit filter and say, okay, look, this is not for me. This is not my game. I'm out. I got to get my work done. I have big boy things to do, or big girl things. So as soon as that's another strategy for getting to an improved self-confidence, is really tuning out of the bullshit that's going on in the world. And I mean this generally. It's about television, tune out that. It's about a lot of this stuff going on in social media with all of the manipulative algorithms trying to fuck you over. Try and reduce your life and honestly do so. And then you will see that immediately you're going to be insanely self-confident, or your self-confidence is going to improve. Here's an example. The village I grew up in, we had this family. They weren't rich, anything but they came by. They had the essentials: roof overhead, food, water, that thing. The kids were pretty much the most self-confident in our generation because they were aware of what they had was elemental, and they worked very hard to move away from that. And they were the cool kids. Really, really, really the cool kids, while being the underdogs. Let that sink in as an example. Number 2, communication. Many years ago, there was a very interesting documentary on YouTube about this Indian/British guy. He wore the turban. I forget the actual word. Whatever. The turban thing. And he dug deeply into Scientology to a degree where he visited a camp, I think it was in Russia, which was some Scientology outcasts that took the positive effects, the learning and whatever, analyzed that, applied that to his life, and he, within weeks of doing this documentary, became such a better communicator, which helped him throughout life. And I believe, without having had any contact with the Church of Scientology, that's one of their core, while hidden, but USPs, that Scientologists in general are trained to communicate on all levels: the emotional level, the factual level, whatever other levels you can think of. But if you're a good communicator, I think we saw the success of Barack Obama, who was by far the best communicator that the United States of America has had as a president, probably for, well, at least as long as I'm alive, 42 years. It didn't get anyone else to see. But this guy was brilliant at bringing the point across, brilliant at stirring up emotions, positive emotions, and moving people in a direction, in a good direction, and in a good forward direction. So I took all the big guys, right? Took all the head honchos. But what about you? How can you learn to improve communication? Well, look at myself. I was, I don't know, in my early 20s, I believe. And I did my vocational training in the finance sector, where we received tons of trainings to communicate better, which obviously was supposed to improve sales. These trainings have helped me significantly throughout my life in bringing my message across clearly, concisely, in a timely fashion, and in very short sentences. And that set me apart from a lot of people that I worked with, right? Because I didn't need hours in meetings, because I was, my the meetings I attended, most of the times I was playing on my fucking cell phone because I wasn't paying attention. I know what the others were saying before they were saying it, because I was able to deduce, is that a word, deduce? I think, from all of the shit they were saying in the beginning of their, 30 to 60 minute ramblings, I was able to deduce from the first, I would say 5 minutes, what they were going to say in the end, right? But they spun so many loops around what they were trying to say that it was kind of like a fucking waste of time. So I got bored, and that's why I tuned out of meetings. Later, entirely, I always had an assistant I sent to the meetings because I couldn't be bothered, right? Waste of time. Because people are usually not very good at communicating. You can see that, for instance, always in relationships, right? Where usually the classical relationship thing, man, woman, girl, boy, there's a difference in perception in a large variety of ways. And there's books written about that, long books. And there's still a lot of opposition going on when there's a bilateral communication between man and woman. Interesting though, right? So these are all things you can learn. Communication is something you can actually learn. And that's something very important to dig into as a skill to attract success. Number 3, managing time. I went into this, very briefly in the communication bit. Is it worth your time, what you're going to do? And that's a very important question. Let that sink in. The next time you are wasting time on the shitter, reading your Facebook feed, I know that. I've done it plenty of times. And interesting things start to happen if you are aware of the present moment and what you're actually doing. I'm not going to bore you with that. Those loyal subscribers, I did a dedicated episode about that. Those not so loyal subscribers, dig in. It's somewhere in the archives. Goes to say that the better you manage your time, the more time at the end of the day you will have at your disposal to be productive, or to recharge your batteries, or to, do whatever you want. Sit in a hammock on the beach. I don't know what your thing is, but the better you manage your time and the more often you ask yourself the question, and honestly ask yourself the question out of your awareness of the present moment, is this worth my time? The more time you're going to have available at the end of the day. And lest we forget, time is the only asset you cannot regain. Once a minute has passed, it's over. It's done. Period. Can't get it back. So, listening. You're listening to the podcast. You're doing a good thing. Listening is fundamental for learning. And it's more of a metaphor in that, it also means listening to interesting people. Yes. Reading interesting books. Yes. Spending time with your family and listening to them. Yes. Listening to Tucker Carlson throw a fit at what? No. That's not important listening. That's where we get back to, is this worth my... No. Listening means learning, inevitably. And I've come across, quite a few interesting people. And what was interesting, though, was that these interesting people were more interested in what I had been through in my life, rather than sharing theirs. So it's a bit of a slippery slope to go down, because you're going to have to sometimes entice them to share their stories. And interesting people are hard to come by the way. Next is consistency. And that's where I personally fail. And I acknowledge that. And there's no way on earth that I'm ever going to solve this problem. I'm consistent in my desire to learn, in my desire to advance, in my desire to develop further myself. That is quite egoistical. But for other people, it's, for you, for instance, maybe you don't have real consistency in your life. And how do you get consistency? Well, one thing is, for a lot of people, a stable relationship adds meaning to their life, adds meaning to the term consistency, in that they need to put food on the table when the kids are there, the wife is hungry, and, we all know how wives are when they're hungry. And so in that sense, getting consistency by yourself in an ego sense is rather difficult. But consistency can be pretty much anything. Maybe your way to consistency is to consistently meditate. You know where I'm going with this. Maybe consistency in your life is a consistent relationship. Maybe, however, consistency is getting a pet, getting a dog. They need to go for a walk multiple times a day. And, they're kind of, interesting reliability, not reliability. No, the relationship, the bonding is very intense with an animal, but it's a lot of responsibility also. And so perhaps responsibility is your way to consistency. There's got to be this anchor in your life that you have to create willingly, which is going to inevitably lead to more consistency in your life. Next is punctuality. And I hate this. In fact, I am so fucking unpunctual that, I have missed flights, and I was such a loyal customer with certain airlines that on 2 or 3 occasions, they actually didn't take off until I was there, which, was half an hour late or something, which cost shitloads of money. But it's not that I can't be bothered, right? But I get carried away in work or on a call or whatever, and I just lose track of time a lot of times. And focusing on that, punctuality is always you got to be punctual because the other people, I don't give a fuck. Yeah, if a flight waits for me, that's really generous. But if other people wait for me, that's generous as well. If they don't wait for me, well, then, the meeting wasn't worth the time. No, I'm hardly ever late more than quarter of an hour, which by international standards is perfectly fine in higher management ranks because of shit that happens. Like I just said, you write an email, you get carried away, you research something, you get carried away, you have a call and that extends and, that kind of thing. So quarter of an hour, 15 minutes is perfectly acceptable. And I use 16 very often, accusing the others that their watches are broken. But it adds really a lot to a lot of people's lives. So working on your punctuality, if you are not in a situation that, I am in personally, where, nobody really gives a fuck whether I'm on time or not. And, people rely on you. It's a good thing to work on that skill. Next are honesty and integrity. And I think, how am I going to put this? I think these are wherever you operate. Those are prerequisites. Period. I don't need to say anything more. Now, how do you become more honest, and how do you display your integrity regularly? I don't know. You got to work hard on yourself if you are not. But it's, I think, a thing of humanity, of modern humanity, to be honest and to be, have a certain degree of integrity. And if you don't, I'm sorry. You're going to have to work hard on your own, because I don't know how to get you to become a more honest person, or to increase your degree of integrity. Very, very, very important is the next factor, which is networking. The next factor, the next skill. So I'm not a very social person. A lot of people get on my nerves very quickly. And so within my restricted environment, many moons ago, before social networks, I didn't really have a strong network. While, yeah, I did. There were certain freaks that I hung around with, but they weren't what I would really consider like a network, right? They were more like interesting people to be around. However, came the advent of social media, interesting things started to happen. I connected to people all across the world, and they were all kind of interesting in their own way. And all of these people had these very fucked up vitas, right? And I was like, holy shit, these people are interesting. Not necessarily because they were interesting to other people, they were interesting to me. And this led to the fact that all of these people with all of these fucked up vitas are now in my network, and I can call and, ask them to connect me to someone that they know. And vice versa. They know very, 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 very clearly that they can call me with any type of shit that they have, and I'll try and solve it for them. That's what networks are about. It's like this mutual thing. No, it's not about multi-level marketing scams going on. When your friend calls you up and says, hey, you remember me? I'm now selling finance products, and you should buy this from me exclusively. That's not networking. That's, some douchebag trying to fuck you over. That's what it boils down to. Sorry, guys, that I ruined this plan for you. No, but networking is also keeping in touch with people, exchanging thoughts with people, exchanging ideas, being there for each other, helping each other grow. That's what a network is essentially about. And having that, establishing it, and most importantly, maintaining it is, the maintaining part is insanely difficult. Maintaining relationships, particularly all across the globe, is insanely difficult. So practice on that, because it's very interesting, it's very helpful, and it's your career accelerator par excellence. Last but not least, we have empathy. And it may prove difficult to imagine that in the business world there is anything that has even remotely to do with empathy. But there is. And there should be, because that's what makes us human and differentiates us significantly from the animals out there. And empathy can come in loads of different ways. Empathy can be, the anonymous bit, the distanced bit where you give money and to charitable organizations, where you have other people participate in your success that way. But it can be more direct. It can be more down to earth, in that you, for instance, spend a certain amount of time in a soup kitchen or for a charitable organization, an administrative role, or on an advisory board role, on a voluntary one. There's tons of shit you can do to help other people. That's what empathy is about. And, those connections that I made during my uncountable years in the voluntary fire department still exist. And that was empathy, kind of like in a group for the greater good. And helping other people in pretty fucked up situations. Right. Anyhow, let's kind of shut this down because I've way overdone my time limit. What is the exercise bit of this? This was until now kind of like a normal-ish episode, I guess. Well, here's a question. Which of these skills, and write all of them down on a sheet of paper, and, do a star rating, right? How self-confident are you? How good are you at communicating? How good are you at managing time? Are you good at listening? What's your star value there? Like a school grade point thingamajigger, whatever helps you. Plus, minus, plus, minus, 0. And honestly, review yourself and how good you are at these skills. And those skills where you need improvement, that's actually where you need to stack up, get books, watch YouTube videos, and increase your competency in these skills just to fill them up to the level that you have in other skills. Now, the point here is that these skills are essential to being successful. You need to be self-confident to convince other people. You need communication to be able to verbalize important things. You need to be able to manage your time, because if you're wasting your time, you're not going to have enough time to be hustling. You need to be good at listening to the requirements your customers have. You need to be consistent in driving yourself and driving the company, driving your project, driving the vision. You need to be punctual because meetings and other shit that you're going to have rely on punctuality. You're going to need to be honest. You're going to need to have a degree of integrity, because if you don't, then you're going to be this cheater bastard that nobody wants to play with. It's that simple. You're going to have a very strong network to be successful in business. Whether that be your local business club or whether it be LinkedIn or other business social networks. Most importantly, though, it's about giving back. Sharing is caring. If you're successful, share your success with others. Be a mentor. Donate money. Donate time for a good cause to help other people out who are less fortunate. I hope I was able to bring the point across. It's been fucking half an hour. I intended this episode to be no more than 15. So I invested my time for you. Seriously, though, take that sheet of paper, take down these required skills, be honest with yourself. How good are you at those skills? And then practice or, get books, get a mentor to help you out, perhaps in certain things. And then really fill those pluses up until you are very good at all of these skills. And success is going to come a lot easier, I promise you. Have a nice weekend. Stay tuned. On Monday, we'll be back Peace out. See you, folks.